Hello, I'm David Skvor, artist and author of the book, The Trinity of Art. In today's episode, I'll be taking on my journey of discovery into abstraction, how I go about it and what my goals are and just how I think about abstraction. Today I'll be using, as the start of my talk, a painting called Wild Ride, which is probably an apt description for today's episode. More on that later. So what is abstraction for me? Well, for me, abstraction is paring back things to get to the essence of the matter, the spirit of it, to try and find the bones that lie beneath. It's a little bit like archaeological excavations where we dig and remove soil, trying to discover that hidden secret, that treasure that lies beneath, and the spirit of the place, and find, and then in doing so, discovering what's really down there, what really lies beneath. In my book, which does exist, I've written something on abstraction, and I'll quote it for you. Okay. Abstraction is not chaos. It's not a happy accident, like paint being flung at a canvas. Abstraction is subtraction from addition multiplied by division. It must contain a square root, something that can be valued, referenced, measured, and or applied. Now you might think, that's a mouthful. Bottom line is, I mentioned it must contain a square root. Well, what's the square root, you might ask? Well, it's the essence. It's the end of the matter. What the basis of the whole object is. Now, if we look at this, the form and the essence is a woman or a female form. That's basically it. There's nothing mystical about that. And if I'll try and go through the painting, how I've done it. This painting here it consists of about 5 drawings. Sometimes in drawing we do quick sketches, like 1-minute poses, and the model moves around. So for argument's sake here, this line here was what I picked up just out of the torso and hips and leg. This one here is just the back of the calf. This line here and this one is from the back and the buttocks. This one here is just the right hip. Once again, these are all different poses, and I've just picked out the bones of what I wanted, just to get to the spirit and the essence of what the drawing was. This one here is the inside of the torso. That's the outside of the arm. Obviously the breasts. This one's the armpit and shoulder. This one here is just the neck protruding and another shoulder. And when you do something like this, it's quite interesting that the painting gets a life of its own. So if we say to ourselves, this is just the white space, but by doing these shapes, there seems to be more happening in the white space than there is in the lines themselves, and it creates volume. In some ways, I've said this painting, the white space almost wobbles like flesh. So the story for me about abstraction is often it's not what's left behind, it's what's been taken out. And that's a whole new episode on its own, dealing with the white space. But we'll get to that one. Now, you can say, how do I do it then? How do I pare things back? And I thought, I'm not sure. I wrote something else in my book. And when I went to school, I was no good at maths. So what I'm presenting to you today, it's not magic. It's not some parallel universe. It's not unscientific. And what I wrote here, what did I say here? Okay. Yeah, there you go. I was no good at maths at school. Fact. But I understand that the answered equation is nothing without the formula or the written process of discovery. That seems to be the magic of maths. And I thought about that, and I know when you go to school, what you want to achieve, the teacher gives you an equation or a problem to solve. You want to get the right answer. And I did learn, even though I was no good at maths, that there's many different ways of getting that number. And I sort of, presenting it today, last night I thought, gee, a lot of people are going to think, he's off his rocker. Or, so what I did, I actually Googled it, good old Google, and I thought, well, what if I'm presenting some crazy theory to you that's not true? So I Googled, what is the result of an equation called? And this was its answer. The values of the variable that makes an equation true are called the solution or root of the question. The solution of an equation is unaffected if the same number is added, subtracted, multiplied or divided in both sides of the equation. So where does that leave us? That it's saying that the essence of the mathematical equation has to be true, or else you don't get the answer. So how do I relate that to finding the essence in abstraction? So, well, the square root, let's call it that, or the essence. So for me, what's created has to be based on creation itself. There can't be a parallel universe out there or something mystical. You can't abstract that because there's no reference point, as I was saying. Now you might say to me, but I don't believe in creation. That's okay, but you must believe in what's been created, what is here. That's the truth. And an example of that I might give you is in the animal kingdom, for example. We might have a hippopotamus, a giraffe, an elephant, a snake, a crocodile, a kangaroo, or a platypus. All animals, all of the same base, for the point of the argument, that which has been created. But there's an abstraction that's quite gentle, that's you can see. It's not all the same, but it's the truth and the essence of what is there is there. So I'll give you another, I'll put another painting up to sort of demonstrate that. There we go. Now this one is called Model on Chair. Same thing. Female form, chair. There's nothing else. It's not something mystical, it's a chair, a female form. I titled this one Model on Chair. Now, it's pretty funny how I did this one. In drawing, I set myself a small challenge at one stage, and I got a piece of paper, a few sheets of paper, and I put a line on it. Do you remember Mr. Squiggle? I think it was his offside, it was Miss Patsy. Anyway, she'd present him with a board and it'd have a squiggle on it. And out of that, he would do a drawing, and it would be something created. I'll give you the drawing that I did. So around me on the ground, the model presented, and I thought, and I looked around and I grabbed this piece of paper because that's the one that ignited something in here to pick up the way the model was sitting. So what I basically did on the piece of paper was I went squiggle, around there, down there, up there, down here and around. That was it, one line. Brrr, around there, down there, up there. So, while the model was there, I was picking out, once again, the bones of what I could see, that the spirit of and the essence of that, the matter, struck a chord with me. So obviously, the shape of the breast here, that was just boom. So the line was already there, but I've just gone over it. This here was the buttock, and these points here sort of quite representational of where the hip comes through, points through the flesh. Obviously another breast. All these shapes are very organic and womanly, or yeah, womanly is a good word. Then the chair wasn't on this piece of paper, so somehow the chair just seemed to go like that. Obviously you don't sit on a chair, she wasn't sitting on it that way. So, and then I've just used a grey for a bit of shadow. Once again, it messes with the form, there's perspective happening here, all sorts of different things, and red as a highlight. So, as I say, it's not rocket science, but again, it probably is. Mathematics is an unbelievable discipline or art, which I, like I say, I'm no good at, and that's basically what I do, and I don't understand the maths, but if it's not right, it doesn't work. So if the formula that you use is incorrect, you can't create something that hasn't been created. There's one more thing I was going to say on this subject, and it's escaped me. Let me think. I might cut here and then I'll add to it later. What was it? Yeah, that's what it was. I remember now. Gone back to me, what, how and why. And this is trying to let you into my mind and how I think. Why do I do this? I don't know. I think, it's exploration. I can't explain why I do it. I don't know why. So I'm not telling you how to paint or how to abstract. It's just how I do it. I know I'm leaving you hanging, but hopefully the next episode is something not so abstract. I was no good at algebra, I promise you. See you next episode.